Once upon a time, me and my young family ended up homeless in Alaska just as winter was coming on. That's not ideal at all, and it was totally my fault. You see, what happened was, the house we were renting was up for sale but had no bites. The lady we were renting from said she would just take the house off the market for the winter and relist it again in the spring, but I knew that she really needed to sell that house. And so the genius that I am, I said, no, don't take it down. You never know. Leave it up, and if it sells, we'll figure it out. Well, guess what happened like a week later, bro? Somebody bought that house. Housing was limited up there. The tourist season had ended and all the workers had gone home, which means all the winter residences had already been rented for the season. And we didn't have anywhere to go. And guess what? We were poor. I called my people down south in the lower 48 and I said, if y'all can loan us some money, we'll move back. And they all said, don't be ridiculous. We are also poor. And I said, I got a big fat check coming from the permanent fund dividend in like 3 weeks, bro. I can pay anybody back the amount that I'm gonna borrow without a doubt. And they said, we ain't got no money, silly. You just had to go to Alaska. This is what we told you would happen. I said, all right, bet. But it just so happens we were attending a church. And they had just built an addition, and I mean doubled the size of the building. But it wasn't finished yet. This included a basement. And the pastor of that church suggested we could move into that basement. The finished basement of the church had a kitchen, had a full bathroom with a shower and all of that, and a bedroom for traveling missionaries. They allowed me to put my custom leather business in that room, and I thank God they did. We took them up on that offer. There was nowhere else to go. It was cold in that basement. It was the most embarrassing time of my life, and I felt only ashamed that I had failed us this big with my grand ideals and such, you know. Painted us into a corner. My dream was for us to live off-grid, and in that basement, I almost gave up on that entirely. Had a lot of opportunities knocking on my door, not the kind that I can brag about unless I take them. I had every major manufacturer in China of fashion goods beat my door down. I had high fashion gurus following me on social media. What I didn't have was any money to buy any land, and it didn't look like I was gonna make any either, except that I make some deals, sign some papers, and get my stuff mass manufactured. A thing I had vowed not to do as an idealist, you know. Not gonna taint my art with making money off of it. Are you kidding me? I was charging thousands of dollars for handmade bags that took me a long time to make by hand. It was not profitable. So I sat my wife down and I said, all right, I'm gonna give up on this dream right here entirely. We're moving back to the city where the opportunity is definitely there for me. I have 6 doors open to step into the fashion world, and I'm going to, that's the plan. About a week later, I got a phone call. There's an off-grid cabin for sale. Why don't you come look at it, Ryan? I said, I ain't got no money. These people are going back to the lower 48, Ryan. Why don't you come look at their cabin? And I said, all right, because it is you who called me, I will come look. Anybody else out, I said, no, I'm going back to the city. I'm gonna be a fashion designer. There was no four-wheeler trail. There was a swamp with the corduroy laid over it, which is basically just a bunch of trees you cut down in place. And there I am, hoofing it out the 2 miles to the road. And Muck Boots asked for permission to use this photo in a marketing campaign, and of course I said yes. And it has been said, I won't say it, that I mastered my craft out there and never did sell out to the factories in China. The people who owned this cabin had finished the inside real nice, had plumbing and wiring and a septic dug. Nothing fancy, we're talking 12-volt deep cycle batteries. But it had some solar panels and you could run a generator. After 6 months in that church basement, my wife, who wasn't a fan of the off-grid idea, took one look at this cabin and said, we are home. I said, well, okay, just one problem. We don't have any money. They sat us down at a table and offered us a land contract, a mythical piece of paper indeed. No money down, no interest, no loan. $1,000 a month for 70 months, and the place is ours. Miss 2 payments and our signature is forfeit. I signed that contract, they moved out and we moved in. On snow machines or snowmobiles, however you call it. That's the addition that I put onto the cabin. Here is my wife and I getting it done. Had to bring that roof in from town, but most of that wood I milled myself from the beetle-killed spruce trees on the property. If you scroll back to the early days of this page, all of my videos are taken with me walking around on this property if I'm not sitting down inside or on the front porch. Living out there was like riding the lightning. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, aside from recovering from chronic pancreatitis, which largely happened out there over the 8 years that we lived there. But after 8 years of roughing it out there while learning business and doing it, it turned out that moving my family to Alaska and off-grid was the greatest idea I ever had. I learned almost everything I now know out there in practice. I found out money does grow on trees, in the boreal forest at least. It's called usnea. It's called chaga. It's called birch polypore. Spruce tips grow on trees. Money grows under the trees in the boreal forest too. It's called highbush cranberry, devil's club, bluebells, etc. We became herbal apothecarists. And I've told 4 million people now why I moved my family out of Alaska. Got roasted for that. I said earthquakes and floods. I expect earthquakes and floods. And so we're moving. Now we live in Texas, and herbal apothecary is our business. The reason I told you this story is because my good friend Bronson here. He and his wife are musicians and artists, and they own Curio Crow, an herbal apothecary. He and his wife are about the same age that me and my wife were when we went into the church basement. They didn't get put out of their house because he had any bright ideas. A tree fell on it. Nobody sold their house out from under them. A tree fell on it. And through it and in it. Thankfully, they were gone when this happened and no one was hurt. But if you watch this video, it's in my stories, you'll see that their house is irreparable at this point. He called me up last night and asked if I'd help promote his business, Curio Crow. They're putting everything on sale to raise money to do anything about this. I said, no, bro, set up a GoFundMe. I applaud that you are willing to work with your own hands to get yourself out of this situation, but I suggest that we all get by with a little help from our friends. I know I did, and I know it ain't perfect yet, and I know it ain't everyone yet. This is how it starts, though, is this stuff right here. This is how it starts. What? How we want it to go. How we want it to go. This is how it starts with us. We do it. No one else is going to do it the way that we want it done, family. And we want it done the way that Jesus said to do it, knowing, if we are his, knowing that that is how we get life, and more abundantly. I want more abundant life, not for greedy, stingy reasons. I want us to all have it. I know that it is true. I know that it is available. I know how to get it, having gotten some life more abundantly. It's this right here. Do we let Bronson rebuild his misfortune alone? Why would we? Why would we? That's not the formula for success, according to King Solomon in Proverbs. A generous hand tendeth to increase, but the hand that withholds more than is meet tends to poverty. Once upon a time, I had no money to give, and so I would give people my time. And yes, I had lots to do instead, for myself and for my family. But the mind of Christ is to prefer the situation of others over your own. I'm not saying to abandon your family. A man who provides not for his own is worse than an infidel. But my plan suffered overly much, helping other people, and that was the cost that I paid. Happily, knowing that it is God who recompenses us, okay? I'm not telling you to let your kids go hungry to send this man some money to help repair his situation. He's not gonna repair his roof. He's gotta repair this whole situation now. That's a double-wide trailer. I know times are hard and that there's more people than just this man that needs help. I've heard from you. I'm considering deeply and with prayer how to handle everyone that needs help. One at a time is all I can come up with currently. I once tried to start a group called the Band of the Open Hand. Nobody understood what it was for. And I mean, my friends and peers just didn't get it. One of them did, and he among the rest is doing overly well. My friend Malcolm Codir at the Hidden Woodsman, a diamond in the rough. I do love my friends, and that ain't just words or feelings or emotions. It's help when help is needed. Well, Ryan, you sure asked us to send a lot of money, not to me. Y'all want to buy a blessing? How much have I asked you to send to me, and how much have I made? None. Buy the truth and sell it not. I'll give it away for free then. I would have it spread. I would have us all in life more abundant. And sometimes that starts with a tragedy like that. No pain, no gain, right? That's a receptive heart beating in that chest right there. Here is an opportunity to teach it a lesson that will echo through the ages. A ripple in time and space itself, what? To help a man when he needs it, I promise you. A lesson I've learned, and it is why I do what I do. Does this man deserve our help? What does mercy have to do with deserving? Nothing. I will have grace for the sake of grace. I will have mercy for the sake of mercy, so that we can have grace and mercy. If we who belong to Christ don't answer the call, who's gonna? And what grace and mercy will there be here? We are the ambassadors. And here is our assignment.